Hello, music fans. My name is Cathy Rankin, and thanks for joining us today. And I am very excited about the interview we're doing today because I'm joined by two incredible musicians from the band Fifth Angel. Well, Steve, so what did you think when you saw the first explanation of the story? What were you thinking going in of how you were gonna, because you're kind of the voice of the characters, really. How do you bring that into the recording?
Well, you know, when I first saw the, what do you call it? What was it, the transcript?
Synopsis?
Synopsis, there you go, thank you. My words.
Synopsis.
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 It's a very formal.
When I first saw that, I thought it was...
It's a $10 word.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant, actually. It was brilliant, really. I mean, it's awesome.
It is.
Because, you know, seeing it all interplay and then seeing all the songs that I really fell in love with as I'm learning them, you know, kind of come to life in those words as well. You know, basically all the songs, I think, are represented in this album, which is really quite a feat.
Do you as a vocalist have to connect personally to the meaning of the songs, the subject matter?
100%.
For you to be able to really
Absolutely.
Sell it?
Absolutely. And the meaning of the songs, for me, it's really easy for me to do that because I'm really behind the actual meaning that is, you know, the deeper meaning than just the surface. And there's more depth in these songs than...
There's a lot of depth. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you want people to listen to this album, and what were you guys wanting to say? Because these are very heavy songs. There is a lot of layers and symbolism to it, and as I was going through and listening to all the tracks, every single song, I found myself saying, wow, I mean, this is talking about this happening today. This is talking about this, and it's kind of wild.
Crazy.
So tell me your perspective on that.
Sure. Well, originally, you know, we were thinking that this album, when we were starting to write it, we figured this be like way in the future. This would be something that would happen because, do we want to talk about the story at all?
Yeah, talk about the story without giving too much of it away.
Okay, the story really centers around the main character, the protagonist. His name is Phoenix. He's a young man, and he's seeing these global events that are changing his life. We're seeing the rise of a global dictator, a guy named Dion Perfontes, who is not, he will use force to enforce his ideas and what he thinks the world should be like. And he's not shy about doing that. So. There's two other characters, Lana and who ends up being Phoenix's best friend, Dylan, that are forming a resistance, or they're part of a resistance that's sort of happening globally because people are seeing what's happening, and there is kind of a resistance to it. And of course, in this case, resistance can be fatal for you. So the story basically is going through Phoenix's and his friends' fight to survive and thrive in this environment where you have crazy events happening globally. You've got a global tyrant. You've got natural disasters happening. You've got terrorism happening. It's just a lot of, actually sort of like our world today, but maybe on a more expansive scale. So that's really what the story's about. There's also a love story that happens in there, and I will say that it does not end well. Does not end well. It's actually kind of, you know,
not a super
in all
lighthearted album.
Well, it's probably the darkest Fifth Angel album in terms of the heaviness of it. It's a heavy story.
So tell me about the sound of the album, because I noticed listening, and I'm not a producer, so I don't even know how to quite articulate what I'm hearing, but there's a really distinct sound, like the guitar tones, all of it. You're the producer. Was there anything you were doing different on the sound and the actual engineering and mixing of this album versus previous?
He can't hear it anymore.
Because you listen to it so much?
Because I listen to it so much.
He can't hear it anymore.
I never want to hear this record ever again.
Well, we talked about that.
Neither one of us
interview.
can hear it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's got, when you're that close to it.
Why don't you tell us what you hear?
Well, it just has a very distinct, I don't know, the guitars, the tones are really cool. I think it's very crisp and clear sounding, but heavy at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Well, we were trying to get something that really felt aggressive, and that you could hear everything, but it all sounded like everything was kind of in your face.
Yeah.
You know, like you hear the guitars, you hear the drums, you hear the bass, you hear the vocals, everything's there, but it's kind of reaching out and grabbing you.
That's
you know?
exactly right.
That's kind of what we wanted. We wanted to like grab people, you know, with the sonics of it, you know, just from a sonic perspective, and hopefully we achieved that.
Did you employ any techniques in the studio, like anything different that you used equipment-wise or gear-wise for this that gave it a specific sound?
Not really. I mean, pretty much used the same equipment that you saw. I mean, I know you've been to Sonic Fish Productions, and yeah, we just used the same equipment. I think it really was more a question of the musicianship and just the approach, and just taking a very, like, we kind of knew what we wanted the album to sound like before we even started. We said, hey, we want to kind of harken back to the first album maybe a little bit more, and we want to be real aggressive though, but we want to kind of update the music and make it, you know, we've all grown as musicians and everything, so we want to make it sound like, hey, we've grown, and at the same time, we wanted to capture a little bit of maybe the darkness of that first album as well.
Well, I think you guys achieved it, because as I was listening to it, and I decided to go back and listen to all the albums again. Like I said, I knew of Fifth Angel back then and loved the music because I'm a sucker for a concept album. But I love every record. Every record I think is different, but I feel like every album you guys have just gotten stronger and stronger, and this one, it just knocks it out of the park for me. I think fans are going to be really excited when they hear it. Were you guys feeling that?
I think I was excited when it was finished and we could listen to the whole thing as a concept record. The first time I did that, I felt like we kind of achieved something special and different than maybe, you know, what we had done in the past. And I've had some interviews, especially from a lot of the major outlets in Europe, and you know, a lot of people have said, "Hey, this is my favorite Fifth Angel album of all of them," which is to me.
I think so too.
Well, to me, that's kind of a stunning thing, because it's hard to fight. You know, again, the nostalgia. You know, like when you grow up with, let's say, an album. You know, I know you're a Rush fan. I'm a Rush fan.
Right.
But you know, your favorite Rush albums are probably the ones that you listened to when you were young.
Originally, right?
Yeah, and that introduced you to the band, and it's the same thing with Fifth Angel. Like, I always think, well, the fans are probably going to love those first two albums the most, and so it's amazing to me that someone can hear an album and it's a new album and they go, wow, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's a huge compliment. I'm just like, wow, thank you so much, because you know, that's what we're trying to do. You're always trying to make your greatest album ever.
Right.
You know, that's the goal, and for someone to recognize it, even though, you know, just like what I was saying about nostalgia, even recognizing it above that, to me is very, it's very nice to hear that.
Well, I think you guys achieved it, and Steve, I have to say you're a big part of this, because I think what you have brought into this album is you have your own voice, and what I love about it is you have all the qualities of what a great front person has to have, the power and the range, but you've got this like raw grit to your voice. So talk a little bit about, I don't know if you have any specific vocal techniques or training, or is that just a God-given gift?
Well, I've sang my whole life, so I've sang other artists and emulated those artists, and I really get behind some of those dirtier sounds, right? And so,
who were some of your biggest influences?
Well, I like AC/DC, I like Bryan Adams, in those kinds of grit kind of sounds. But I really like music that has got more of a, a style that is very popular, if you will. So I like all of that, and I just try to be me, in no matter what I'm doing. So I was blessed to find that I could actually take the Ted Pilot sound and then take the Kendall sound and make that happen in my area, and then also basically have my sound here, utilizing those kind of same things.
Yeah, it seems like it fits really, really well. So let's talk about the videos, because you also brought a lot to the videos, and I love it. So you guys have released 2 videos from the album. You've released When Angels Kill and Resist the Tyrant. Yeah. And they're both killer. Everybody out there should go watch the videos right after this interview, because I think having that visual along with the sound is really powerful. And you really seem to embody an actual character in the videos, where sometimes you see videos and people are just like, okay, I'm gonna sing and play my instrument and just try to look like a cool rock guy. But you came in with this whole persona and this whole character as part of the story. Did you put a lot of thought into this ahead of time, and what was the inspiration for that?
I put absolutely zero thought into it.
Come on.
I didn't. I brought things I thought would be cool, and then when I got there,
So wait, you brought
I brought a bunch of things like the clothing and things and swords.
Okay,
and
so I
things.
made Steve bring a prop. From my favorite prop of the video is this sword, and it's about how long? 4 feet?
Probably around 4.
Okay, and this is the real thing, right?
Yeah, that's the real thing.
Did you just have this laying around your house, or did you go out and get this? How did this come about?
No, we do incantations at home, and
I mean, there's nothing more metal
we say
than this.
Having a sword, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the south, the north, the east, the west. We draw the thing.
did
on
you
the
know
ground.
he was gonna bring all this stuff?
I had
He had no
idea.
idea. He had no
I had no idea. But when I saw it, I was like, that's going to look cool. I mean, we're like, and then when we were doing the video, we're like, yeah, we've got to put him on a throne because he's got a sword. And
I mean,
so,
and it just kept going. Like, I
Yeah.
think you've got some sort of apparatus in the second video, and I'm waiting
It's the microphone stand.
Oh, is that the microphone
It's a stand.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's all it is. And
we
it-
need to trade notes on who did that.
Well, I built it, and it's a metal pole.
Oh, you
It's-
built it?
Yeah, it's a metal pole, and it screws into the stand part, and it screws out, and then it actually comes apart so that it can go on a plane.
See, now you're in trouble, because now that I know you can do that, I'm going to make you make my mic stand for my gigs. So, okay, so...
Well, I have.
That's the least you can do now.
You
I'm
owe
not.
me.
I'm not that
Yeah,
talented.
we owe her, so you have to do that.
Well, word is getting out. I've seen a lot of news in some of the music editorials talking about the album. So, and there's a lot of, and I read the comments. Do you guys read the comments?
We do.
Do you read?
We do
They're
read the comments.
They're 99% positive. There's always those
We
funny
need
ones.
the bad ones. We need more bad comments.
No, we don't. We don't.
No,
we
no, no,
don't-
no. He
we
doesn't
do-
want the
we
bad
don't need more
comments.
bad comments. But
You
They're
don't have bad
primarily
comments.
positive.
they are. They're overwhelmingly positive,
Yeah.
which is great. And then you kind of know that it's real because there are some people that will comment negatively and. Which I actually asked the label. I said, "Well, do you guys clean these comments up?" And they said, "No, we don't. We don't touch
Yeah.
them." So it was great to see that it's genuinely being received really well.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're very excited about that.
Yeah, the videos are just great. And tell me a little bit about the guitars, because the other members aren't here for the interview, but I want to make sure we talk about them.
Sure.
You've got Jim Dofka on lead guitar, and he is absolutely shredding on these tracks. He's amazing.
He is. He's on fire.
He's on fire. So tell me a little bit about him and the other guys that are, you got John Macco on bass, of course, and he's
Yep.
been in the band since 87?
I think earlier than that. I think 86.
Yeah, so, and he's great. But tell me about who else contributed.
Well, there was a great number of musicians that contributed on this album. We had, as you mentioned, Jim Dofka, Ed Archer, of course, who's an original member.
Yeah, people love him.
We had my friend Steve Conley from Flotsam and Jetsam assisted us in some of the rhythm tracks. Actually, Ed hurt his hand at one point and was unable to play. So we had some interesting things happen along with COVID. We had a friend of ours, Brent Barker, help out. We had
I mean, he's the one in the video, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and you said he had to actually learn
note for note.
note for note everything,
Yeah.
and he killed
Because
it
Jim
too.
couldn't come out. He was having to take care of his elderly mother. And so we just ran into all kinds of wacky scenarios in this instance. And we had deadlines that we had to meet. So we just did whatever we had to do to meet the deadlines. But the way I described it in interviews, I said, well, people are familiar with Halloween, and they have a thing called Pumpkins United, and they had, like 4 guitar players and 3 singers, and all these different guys that had played in the band. And this is sort of like Angels United. We had the core guys, and Steve and Ed and John and myself, and then Steve Conley helping out, and Jim Dofka and Ethan Brosh co-wrote on some of the songs.
Right.
And we just basically the whole Fifth Angel family, helped out to make this record what it is, which I think honestly really helped make it turn into something special.
I think so too. I think it actually added a lot, and it is just a great album. So, final takeaways. What do you want people to take away from the new music?
I think as an artist, it's always like we loved Kit and we loved meeting the fans and signing things, because I feel like as an artist, there's no greater compliment than someone, you know, actually is investing their money and their time into listening to what you do, and it's a great honor, and we never take that lightly, and we will never take that lightly. So I think probably the great way I think for somebody to receive this would be to, you know, listen and enjoy it. You know, if they listen and they love the songs and they love the story, and it moves them emotionally, I think that would be that, you know, that's obviously what you're trying to do as an artist. You're trying to move people emotionally. So if we achieve that, then that I feel that's successful.
Go watch the videos. I don't know what else to say. They're just that When Angels Kill, the opening 59 seconds is just epic.
By the record.
I think somebody in the comments was like, drummer beast. Yeah, so, and you're getting a lot of great compliments too. So we're so glad you got to join us and learn more about the new music from Fifth Angel. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
When angels kill,